All right, it's been 11 weeks, 10 games since we covered a loss on Monday. But thank the football gods. Thank the football podcasting gods. It has only been 2 weeks since we last had a Mike Giardi Monday on the Pats Interference Podcast, proud member of the gallant, genteel, gesticulative CLNS Media
Wow.
Network.
Say that 10 times fast.
I will not. Reality check. That is the phrase I would use for the Patriots on Sunday. 35-31. We all know. I mean, I guess you could use two other words. That sucked if you're a fan or a player or a coach. But reality check to me is about what that taught us about what this team is and is not. And then also reinforced, which is a lot of what December football does. Your strengths and your weaknesses carry you. Cards are on the table. This is what it's going to be. Mike Vrabel, who was asked a dozen times at the postgame press conference, some variation of, hey, what happened in the second half? Literally said, and I will pull up the quote here. Granted, this is just a small piece of it. It's no secret. You know what I mean? We called the same stuff. They called the same stuff. And yet we're going to do an hour on this because this is what we owe the people. And you and I spend many more than just 1 hour studying the game. So reality check, fair enough.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it told some hard truths about the football team that we have discussed repeatedly over the last multiple months, dating back even in the offseason, about there's parts where this team is deficient. And they won 10 in a row. And in part because Drake was a freaking monster during that period. And it helped cover up some of the deficiencies that the football team has. And in no way, shape, or form do I think that this means, oh, you can't do what we were talking about them doing 2 weeks ago. But it just says to you, Drake Maye matters the most. And I know we're going to get into it, but if he's not playing at the level that he did for the majority of those 10 weeks, then you start to see some of the cracks in this roster that, again, to me is still one off season away from being what they want it to be.
Yeah, and so that started with the reinforcing part, right? Like we knew this team was going to go as far as Drake Maye could take them, and that is not at all an adjustment on our preseason expectations or analysis, which granted, you should adjust your priors if they deserve adjusting. But in this case, a team we all went 8-9 or 9-8 with our preseason predictions is now on the precipice of 12-5 or 13-4, or they could still go 14-3 because he might be the MVP of the league. Now, around him, what was reinforced is that they've got a very brittle defensive front when it comes to depth, because since Milt Williams walked out the door, so did their ability to play run defense, which was 31st by success rate, as Mina Kimes first put out there, and everyone has since found and reinforced that, like, hey, you know how you can kind of dink and dunk your way down the field against Patriots defense. Well, whatever the run version is of dink and dunk, that's what teams can do in the ground too. And I just keep saying it that, like, to some point you can't bring Corey Durden and Joshua Farmer to a gunfight with the MVP, but that's what they have to do now after an injury or two. And there's one more that I think they learned, but you don't see in a winning streak. You have to knock out good teams when you have them down. Like, this was the cardinal sin of surviving any horror movie. You have to kill them off when you have the chance, and they didn't, and so they lived a horror movie. That all was reinforced to me. But there was some interesting stuff I felt like we maybe not learned, but kind of taught us, which you can only learn against good teams, which they have not faced or hadn't faced in a month, and was their second game against a good team in 2 months.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, you get the negative side of it, the positive side of it. To me, it reinforced the notion that when they're playing at their best, as they were in the first half, they can punch with anybody. And that's the thing where we've adjusted our expectations, Andrew, as the year has gone on, and they started winning more games, and we're having the conversation, what are they really? And I'm like, I'm not sure. And you got mad at me. And then, like, no, they're good. And then they're good. And they have the way the conference is shaking out, they have this opportunity. And now when you're in this place at 11-3, and yeah, you lost the game, you don't feel great about blowing the 3-touchdown lead or the 24-7 lead. It's like, well, we did a lot of good things, which they said, all of them, to a man, which was clearly Vrabel's message. And, like, we're capable of doing that. We did it just a little bit longer in this game. We win the game and we win the division, and we're still, they still have a chance to be the number one seed, but, like, so all those things are in place. And it's, like I said, I keep reframing the way I think about this team, but I continue to look at the AFC and say, man, it can be you. It really can be if you play the way you're capable of and your quarterback played the way he did for the better part of those 10 games in the win streak.
Something else we could take away in this fictitious nerd battle in my brain,
Oh boy.
like the DVOA fans versus the EPA acolytes. And I like to dabble. I'm friends with them both. There's not a war going on. But EPA had the Patriots defense as a top 10 unit for a long time. And I cite EPA. It's very useful. It does not account for the schedule. And so I keep looking at those top 10 rankings and be like, okay, you can describe the Patriots as a top 10 defense, but I don't think that's necessarily being accurate or honest about what we're seeing with the eye test. Now, DVOA has said consistently this is a bottom 10 defense. And I did not agree with that. I do not agree with that. But it's illustrative of, okay, when we have to see how good your good is against the best teams that you play, this is what it looks like. And it's not very good. So just something there. We're like, again, you can pick out any stat that you want out. They're all available. Okay. If you have an internet connection, you have access to any case that you want to build. I would no longer, and encourage everyone else to no longer build the top 10 Patriots defense case until maybe next season.
So when you don't think they're a bottom defense, you don't think they're a top 10, what are they closer to in Andrew Callahan's football brain that's warring with itself because of the DVOA versus the EPA? Where's the pendulum swinging? Is it more towards the bottom or is it more towards the top?
They're more of a power bottom defense. Is that fair? Is that too far perhaps for the
21st?
I don't know. Like 17th is fine. 18th,
okay.
I think, is where they reside because they're excellent at tackling aside from yesterday. Which shocker, the last time they missed 10 plus tackles was the last time that they lost against Pittsburgh. Yeah. Not good. Not going to play defense if you don't tackle.
No.
They don't allow explosive plays by when you define them as 10 plus yard runs or 15 plus yard passes. They've allowed the fewest in the league. And that's going to get you places. But what they don't do is generate enough pressure. What they don't do is generate enough turnovers. And even if turnovers week to week are not sticky or predictive, and what all the analytics folks, the EPA fans and the DVO acolytes are going to tell you, like, you need to steal possession here or there. And the reason you beat the Bills, or part of it, back in week 5 was because of those turnovers. Yeah. And part of the reason that you lost on Sunday is because you didn't have one. So for now, it's not even recency bias. It's just to say, okay, how are your best players playing? Christian Gonzalez has no picks. Christian Barmore is not making enough big plays. And until Milton Williams gets back, I mean, it's going to be the hallmark of a non-top 10, not a good defense.
Yeah, and they're just the things that we've harped on and worried about and wanted them to address at the trade deadline, which you can't revisit the whole thing, but that happened. They didn't add another pass rusher. And Jalen Phillips would have been the high end, and obviously we've seen what he's done for Philadelphia. But you're putting Ponder out there, and I know he has 3 sacks, but like that's not a consistency thing. K'Lavon Chaisson, your guy, has faded a little bit. They've asked him to do more than he's ever had to do in his life. He's not coming off the field, essentially, right? Like a series here or a series there, but they're leaning on him heavily. And then on the other side, we know Harold Landry's playing hurt. I mean, since the Saints game, the guy that you saw before the Saints game was a throwback Harold Landry. That was the pre Tennessee's telling you he doesn't have any pop left. Like, that guy had pop. And this guy, since, he got the sack yesterday, it's more about effort than anything there. And I like I say, I give him a lot of credit for being out there and playing, but he's not the same player. You can't tell me that he's the same player. So I wonder now, Andrew, because you've just come off the bye, you got this late bye, how much healthier are you going to get? How much more explosive are you going to get? How much more energy and juice can you squeeze out of Harold and K'Lavon and others? It feels like that's a hard ask at this point, that this might be who you are. And again, that just puts a heavier burden on your stars, or the guys that you think are your stars, to play at that high level every week.
The way you just discussed Chaisson makes me think of a guy who gets by in college, does not do particularly well or have a good job when he gets out of college, and then suddenly gets his act together and like, hey, did you hear about Ted? He's 26, he's dating, he's got a job in finance, and then things go a little bit too fast where there's too much on his plate. He's dating someone with 2 kids now. Like, he's gone from I don't get up before 11 a.m. in the morning to I have to feed children on my own when my girlfriend isn't home from work in time. And you just go, maybe this was a little bit too much too soon. And look, he didn't have a pressure by my count. Other places gave him one. The bottom line was Buffalo, as we've talked week after week after week, picked on him in run defense. When he's not providing that pressure, he's going to be a net negative. And also should just be a rotational rusher on a great defense. On a good defense could probably start this version. But to your point about Harold Landry wearing down because of injury, this is just attrition for Caleb on Chason, who, again, not used to feeding kids this late for someone who, for the first half of his NFL career, didn't get up past 11 a.m.
That might have been your best analogy of the entire season. Like, maybe we should just stop the show. Like, that's it. Send out the socials. Let's get you on the interview tour. Like, bam, done.
The thing is, he's been a father for I think 4 or 5 years now, and I'm just turned to dad. And I already know more. No, speaking as someone who bites off more than they can chew regularly and somehow still has not choked. Let's go to what we learned / taught us about this, because we know all the stuff we just said and have reinforced and pat ourselves in the back about things we said. Oh, watch out for this. The run game is not a lost cause like I thought. And the path forward for this run game, which could not crack the 31st run defense by DVOA, the Giants. It could not crack the 32nd run defense by DVOA in the Bengals. What it did do with the 30th ranked defense by DVOA was hammer the edges. And you know who loves to live on the edges? It's TreVeyon Henderson, who is up early and ahead of his studies and on top of everything, but a little bit too eager. And in this case, he had great vision. The long speed got unlocked, and that's how you get to 246 rushing yards, not to mention a Patriots running back who I think just 30 minutes ago, I finally got used to a Patriots running back running away from everyone. In the 3 decades I've watched this franchise, I have not seen that before. That to me is encouraging, because this was always going to be a boom or bust run game. Once we got to halfway through the season, you're like, they just don't have it to be an efficiency success rate operation. But if they hit a couple of those long runs, as Henderson did, you're fine. You're more than fine. 246 yards is freaking fantastic.
Yeah, it's still not a down-to-down operation that you can count on, but I think, as we've talked about, if you can get some of those explosives, and this was obviously to the extreme with 2, massively long touchdown runs in the game, that, I mean, okay, they are everything's on the uptick because of it. What I like about what happened with TreVeyon yesterday, aside from the obvious, the 2 long runs, I thought his vision was the best that it's been all season.
Yes.
He picked his way for a couple runs early in the game, even on the one he got tackled down, I think the 5 or 6 yard line, he sort of pounded the ball on the turf. That looked like the kid that I saw run the ball at Ohio State. Okay, so that part of it maybe finally slowing down for him, and then that gives me a little bit more hope that the explosives which come and go might be there a little bit more consistency. In fact, the last time we saw him, he started piling up some yards in the second half of the 26-yard run, I believe, in the second half against the Giants. You start to string these things together, and then combined with Ramondre, who looked like the best version of Ramondre. I thought he made the first guy miss pretty much every time yesterday when he touched the football. Did some dancing in the backfield to get out of lost yardage situations. Okay, then maybe there is something, because I was like you. In fact, I was just on the radio last week on Friday with Andy, our good friend Andy Hart, and Ted Johnson, and they're like, what do you think of? I'm like, guys, we've been saying this every week. They've played the worst run defense 6 different times this year, and every time we come away going, guess not this week. Guess not this week. Well, as Andy made sure to text me after, I think, the second touchdown run, what about that running game? I'm like, all right, man, it was there. It was, much more consistent and much more production than they've gotten at any point this year.
The second rushing touchdown mean the second they scored, which was Drake Maye's quarterback draw, or Henderson's second long one?
Henderson's second long one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got good for Andy for having some patience. He had the vision like TreVeyon did. I'm going to give you one more, and you texted me about this, so I will let you take it from here. But I agreed when I finally finished my film with the offense. The wide receivers had 7 catches. And I'm not saying we got flashbacks of 2022 and 2023 and 2024. But when Buffalo goes, we're down Christian Benford, but chips are down. We're still going to play man coverage, and we're going to beat you up. What are you going to do about it? And you do nothing? Don't love that.
No, and it was stark because, when you're watching the game, sometimes, you're trying to see big picture, but you're following the ball, or, hey, you know what? I noticed this, and I'm going to focus on this in this very moment. You've got the replays and whatever you got going on, but when you go back and watch and you have the 2 different angles on the all 22, My God, how many times did you look at it and go, ain't no separation there. There's not, nobody's creating any space. You had some of it on the crossers, but anything on the outside was under lock and key. And that's incredibly disappointing because I looked at the Benford injury and was like, oh, they're going to eat today. Like if you're a Prize Picks fan, which I know you should be as you follow this program, like that's the more on Stefon Diggs. That's the more on Drake Maye. They're going to eat in that regard. And that wasn't the case at all. And that's, I guess you come down to the conversation that we've had for a long time, and you like the group. They played a lot better than I think any of us could have anticipated, but you still don't really have the difference maker that in those moments you just say, screw it, throw it up to him and he'll figure out a way to make a play.
Well, your difference maker is your quarterback. And that's
Right.
how you got this far. Like and even with his
he's
legs.
elevated all those guys. Like that's as we get into
both ways. Like
but I mean, we get into those conversations where I'm not to pick on Ted, but Ted did make this comment, Ted Johnson, this comment about like, I'd rather have the guys that they have, he says we, because of course, his relation, but the guys that they have versus having that one big star. And it's been proven too many times. Yeah, you want good players all over the place. You want good complementary pieces. But when you have that one guy that draws that coverage, draws that attention, and even when he does, can still make that play, can still physically overwhelm a guy, run by a guy, make the one, whatever it is, like they don't have that physical type player at that position who's just kind of a freak.
Well, and the truth about the game for the receivers was it was both not good and there's not a real case to be worried, like really concerned long-term, because the greater body of work for this season, and this is a microcosm of the Patriots game yesterday, is that we're also not worried about them as a Super Bowl contender. What this showed is your margin for error is still small. You need your best players to be healthy and to be productive because you don't have the depth of the other teams. But when Drake Maye's on, and he wasn't yesterday, again, you can hang. And they were one drive away from winning this game, and everyone going, that's the scare they needed. AFC title champs, going for the 1 seed, blah, 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 blah. And when the margin's that small, granted, that's still 70 yards in a drive that didn't happen. No one here is freaking out and panicking.
Right.
But what is underpinning all of this is stuff that had kind of been bubbling to the surface, whether it was the receivers not being committed and tested versus man coverage because Drake was escaping. And then when teams get a handle on his scrambling, going, all right, maybe we can play a little bit more man coverage. And then, all right, they're down a couple of guys. Why don't we run the ball? And when they're healthy, why don't we keep running the ball? And then that cracks. Now you need some sealant. Now you need to fix things. So let's get to Drake, because I look at this and go, well, first of all, I can use the term Drake Maye again, which has been 10 weeks, and I don't like it because I would rather him play well, and I would rather talk about how he's playing well.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be the guy who first says Drake Maye, you got to let people know occasionally you were the first guy that says Drake Maye. He was just pedestrian in pretty much every major area, and this goes for accuracy. It goes for decision-making. It goes for reading coverage, where I think he was a beat slow, and you saw Buffalo play a couple of snaps of two-man, which you never see against them, because that is the ultimate invitation to go ahead and scramble, and I think he did once. But through that mixing of coverages and him standing a little bit too long in the pocket and sometimes locking onto his first read like you saw in that final third down, it just reeked of a guy that you saw maybe last year or you expected to see in bad games this year. And we just haven't, because he's been spectacular. But that's the best word I could use to describe this, was just pedestrian in all the biggest ways.
I think you're being generous. I thought his second half was certainly as bad as I've seen him play this year. And so there were 15 dropbacks in the second half. They only had 18 plays, which in and of itself was a problem. Outplayed 46-18 in the second half. I had him for 8.5 minus plays. And that's bad throws, inaccurate throws, even on like the one to Diggs in the flat that Diggs caught. Some of the decision making, I haven't had those numbers for him. Like we almost drove Patriot fans to find my address and show up at my house after the Raiders game, talking about the number of plays that I had just didn't like. This was that.
If you need his address, by the way, just slide into my DMs. Happy to hand that out.
Do not do that. Yeah, it wasn't good. And I'll just rip through them, right? Bad throw, complete to Diggs. This is the start the second half. This is the first series. Won't pull the trigger on Hollins on a crosser, felt pressure. Believe he took the sack on that play.
Yep.
Second drive starts off with 2 checkdowns. Bad throw on the in cut to Hollins, incomplete. Ball's behind him and high. Nice throw to Diggs on the third down, the crosser. Probably their best passing play of the second. Well, not probably the best passing play. Throwaway, fine. The wild miss to Hunter Henry that should have been picked off. I mean, that was at the interception, which, sorry, it's a negative play. The arm punt, you can give me all that stuff. He had other options on that play.
You skipped, there was one because it was nullified by penalty, which is now making me think I have to change the numbers in the film review I just filed for the Herald, because when you write 3,000 words, there's always one wrong.
Yes.
And it's the only one I remember. He hit Henry on a deep curl versus, I think, cover 3.
And that was the hold, right? Or
yeah, that was the hold.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think the deep curl was in the 2-minute drill to end the first half. But anyway, he hits Henry for 11. And it
got erased. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yep.
The 4th series, because the third was the 1-play touchdown for Trevion Henderson, sack. Then, I'm sorry, but both can be true. The ball behind Hunter Henry was a bad throw that Hunter Henry still should have caught, right? Third down, the ball placement. This is what we talk about when you're talking about an MVP quarterback and a guy playing at the high level that we've seen him play. That throw's got to be in front of the receiver. He threw it high and behind him. Hunter said it. I should have caught it. I agree. He should have caught it, but that has to be a better throw. And then the 5th and final series, I gave him a half on this one because I think he and Hollins weren't necessarily on the same page. The 5-yard completion to Hollins, it's a bad throw, but he might not have been where he was supposed to be. The 0-yard sack, which he had Ramondre Stevenson in front of him, could have flipped it to Ramondre. Could have. Just
split second, splitting hairs.
It's a positive play and a chance for a first down.
Well, I mean, you could see him bring his arm back and then bring it back down because he just had pressure directly.
This felt like this should have been one of those, the flick.
Oh, the one that everyone calls out and says, yeah, keep doing more of those. That wasn't risky again. You haven't fumbled like that.
I'm telling you, he had more time. He had more time than you think he had. The bad read on the throw to Trevion, which I would agree with my colleague Greg Bedard. I think he thought they were going to linebacker, and they flipped it. The linebacker carried Hunter Henry, I believe, on that side, and Teron Johnson covered him. And, Trevion's added a nice, he's a playmaker on the offense, and he's obviously caught the balls in the flat, but he's not a route runner yet. Like, you're asking him to do something against a pretty good nickel corner. And then I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I didn't put this on him, but the final play, the pass tipped by Joey Bosa that falls to the turf and ends the game. Essentially, like, that play was FUBAR from the beginning because they were trying to run mesh and nobody got off their guy. Nobody got off coverage. Diggs might have got a little twisted there at the end with a little tug, but yeah. So that's pretty uninspiring from the guy who's been incredibly inspiring for the lion's share of the year.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that. That was less than 50% of the snaps that he played in the football game. And I understand that those should be weighted more heavily because they came with a greater influence on the outcome of the game, being that they were closer to the end of a game that was tight at the end. But they got up big because he played particularly well in that first half. I think it was 8 of 11 for 108 yards. There was the throw to Booty, which maybe or not was a catch. But you had a scramble versus man, pressure completed under a double pass for 14 yards. You had checkdowns when appropriate. You sifting through some disguises, even moving off of Stephon Diggs when they're playing this one cross coverage, meaning the safety would come down. He's hunting for crossers. And once that crossing route, in this case Diggs, comes there, he takes him in man coverage at safety. And Diggs' defender at the start of the play drops into zone. Like, that stuff sometimes will get guys when they just lock in on the reads. I didn't see him do that in the first half. You did, though, in the second half. And that happened on the Trevion play when they were in man coverage. And apparently Greg said it. You just did, and I completely agree. They thought they'd have Henderson. He didn't come off of him. Booty was open over the middle. And even the drive before that, Buffalo drops into Tampa 2 on that last sack. That was so well disguised, and it was an inverted version of Tampa 2. You got the corner dropping in one half and the safety moving over to the other. And that's just a case of where I don't know if he didn't expect it if he read the wrong thing. But the point was that split second of deciding what was happening and where he should go is what determined the fact that he was sacked, in addition to Trayvon Henderson losing what was a long delayed piece of blitz pickup. So
yeah, and I didn't put that on him as the negative. Like, I didn't think that was his fault. Like, I don't think anybody was open. And as you said, like, the sort of whether he hesitated because he wasn't sure exactly how they were playing it or what have you. I just think you're right. The first half was excellent, but it's 50%. you don't get a passing grade for 50%. You got to, and I think he said, and I think he's been really good about this as he's evolved. There was a lot of like, I got to be better, but I think he was right. I think he has to be better. They needed a play. They needed a first down. Like, it's crazy to think, but like one first down may have staved some of what happened, kept your defense a little bit more refreshed. Again, I mentioned the plays in the second half, 46-18 from a play perspective. You're just not on the field. And so when your defense is already stretched thin and down two important pieces of the spine in Williams and Spillane, like, that's going to add up. And he's just, as I've said this before, Andrew, I hold him to a high standard. And I think as the years gone on, I hold him to an even higher standard because he's delivered. That's how good he's been. So in that moment, you're the MVP. Make a play. Make two plays. He didn't.
One more thing from the first half, because this is, I don't think they were symptomatic of the same issue, or if Josh McDaniels, when he's correcting these things in the meeting today, goes, hey, that Henderson thing, you just got to come off of it. Like, Teron Johnson's there. We're moving on. That was his first read, let's be clear. And I think it was the same concept they hit with Ramondre Stevenson for the big, long completion, the longest of Maye's career in Miami in week 2. But 3rd and 1 at the end of their second drive, and it's a deep ball to Matt Collins down the left sideline, which is just an I can make this throw. We're going to go get it. And not only was it inaccurate, but I'm just like, come on. It's 3rd and 1. Unless you're told this is 4-down territory, which it was not. They punted. Don't take that shot. Take what's available. Hit something quickly. You know what else you can do? Is
and there was stuff there that he had multiple options that he could have taken, which that's the frustrating part of it. And then, like, oh, it's an arm punt. It's no big deal. No, it was a big deal. Where they were on the field, a completion there, you're in field goal range. Like, you have the opportunity maybe to cash that into points, and points are valuable here.
It's just stuff that where you go, okay, Buffalo makes this call to play man coverage. What do they want you to do? And it would be, yeah, go ahead, try it. Like, you might burn us and we'll give up 30 to Matt Collins. It'll be this sick back shoulder catch, and Gillette's going to stand on his feet and you'll get a first down. But more likely than not, we're going to get a punt here. So go ahead. Try the Trayvon Henderson throw, even though Teron Johnson's right there. Go ahead. Like, there's a little bit of a dare in that man coverage, in addition to we don't think your receivers are all that. Mind you, there's a little bit of background here with Mike Pellegrino, their Nickelbacks coach, who was in New England for 6-7 years. That as an aside, 2 last stats I want to leave everyone with. Drake Maye's lowest passer rating in a start that he completed in the NFL, 62.5. His accurate throw percentage, so throw away the spikes and the throwaways and all this stuff, 71.4%. That's his 3rd lowest of the season. And the other 2 that are lower were at Tampa, good defense, and then at Cincinnati, where he was just working off of a Skyline Chili hangover, as we've said and watched, and just like, what the hell is going on here? I'm not concerned yet, and I don't want anyone to hear this as anyone, oh, Callahan's upset and worried about Drake Maye. But you'll notice those 3 games, the least accurate of his seasons, have all come in the last 5 weeks. And the other 2 have been spectacular against the Giants and the Jets. Just otherworldly accuracy, drooling, MVP chance, all deserved. It's just something I've got my eye on, because now it's a little bit of a pattern, and we'll see what happens in Baltimore. He will play better. He will be fine. He'll be better than fine in the long haul. But it's obviously hard to sustain a historically great season by accuracy, which was going to be the most accurate season by the next-gen stats era in completion percentage over expected. You can't hold that up. But it's steadily coming down, not just all at once. And I wonder if this is the nadir, the bottom, and he'll start to work back up, or this is just where he's going to kind of be now.
Well, can I ask you the question that has been kicked around and we've talked about previously?
The cold?
Yeah. Cold, or in the case of Tampa, they got the ball and it started to rain. And what did he look like in the start of that game? Pretty messy. So I don't know. We know that his hand size. I know people are going to lose their minds because we went through the whole arm length thing with Will Campbell, but that was a thing that was brought up, and none other than Tom Brady has said having bigger hands was very beneficial to me in the cold weather in the Northeast, in Foxborough. The ball is harder, it is slicker, and he never had problems with it. Drake has a smaller hand size. He's going through, obviously, his first full season as a starter. I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. I just, it's to quote a radio show that drives all of us nuts sometimes.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Little C concerned. Little C. Not big C, little C.
So you said you hold Drake Maye to a high standard. I hold another person in this whole operation to a high standard. That is offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Outstanding first half. Hits all of the right pressure points.
He was on a heater.
You've got an undersized defense. We're going to play with big personnel. We're going to run the ball 63% of the time on first down, more than half our snaps before the last drive, multiple tight ends, multiple running backs. We're going to hit you on the edges where you're allowing 5.7 yards per carry, and it's outside zone, and it's pin and pull. And we're going to have a toss, and there's a reverse to Pop Douglas in there. Cool. 24-7. Oh, and the game plan wrinkles, which we're not going to belabor. I tweeted about it. Drake Maye keeps the ball on an option run, of which I think there have only been a few inside the red zone all season. But for the first time ever, he keeps it, scores the first touchdown. Then this spectacularly subtle and clever quarterback draw. Not a scramble, a quarterback draw for the second touchdown. Just nice wrinkles. So their success rate rushing the ball is 59%, which is insane. Okay, this is Josh Allen on his own running. That was them as a team. All of their explosives come from running the football, except Kayshon Boutte's maybe not 30-yard catch. In the second half, where the hell was the run game? You matched your season high in rushing yards at halftime with 177. Then you run the ball all of 3 times in the second half. And I don't want to hear, oh, we had fewer than 20 plays in the second half. I know. I watched it. I rewatched all of them today.
Yes.
Of those 3 runs that you called, 2 were successful and 1 was a touchdown. And of the 15, 16 pass plays that you called, including the one that was called back by penalty, you called 2 play action throws. It is a complete abdication of your responsibility as an offensive coordinator to facilitate and put your players in the best position and use relevant recent information to make those decisions. I don't understand, even as well as Drake played in the first half, going so pass happy after halftime in the middle of your best rushing game in years, and certainly this season, and to not use play action, which was good enough for you over 40% of the time in Buffalo back in week 5. And you only use 14.3% of the time on Sunday? What happened?
It's a great question. I'm sitting here poring over my second half notes and just the play log. So the opening series, they start off the first play with a run play. Henderson loses 1. And so immediately you're behind the sticks and you go to the pass. You get the bad throw to Diggs for 3 yards. Then you get the sack. Then you punt. Second drive is the one they sort of put together. The only drive they kind of sort of put together. But yeah, heavy pass. Play action, I had down once. There was a throwaway there. I don't understand the play action thing. I was just, as I'm sitting here, kind of like working this out in my head. I don't understand the play action thing more than I don't understand the run game thing. And I get the historic run. What was the EPA per play was on the rush was plus 0.437, highest first half rate of any team in week 15.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And then they run the ball 3 times in the second half. That is where, though, the running, the not having the ball enough comes into play. Also, like you bust a 65-yard run. It's like you're not having a sustained drive there. And you're going to take the 65-yard touchdown run. I'll give you the play action. I can't really get upset about not running the football because I just don't think they had it enough or in situations where they felt like they could. I mean, throughout the 4th and 5th series, certainly the 5th series, when you're 2 minutes and 47 seconds left in the game and you're down by 4, you're not going to run it.
Yeah, but this is a first down thing. Like, again, you were 63% first down run rate. Great idea. Your first down run, first play of the second half. Okay, it goes for -1 yard. You get scared. You call 2 passes and you punt. Your next 3 first down plays, pass, 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 punt, or that was the end of the interception. Then you get to the next drive. First play of that drive, 65-yard touchdown. First down play of the next series is a 5-yard run. Just keep going.
Yeah, but
like,
I look at this.
It can't be both, though.
Right, but I look at the second series. It's a swing pass to Ramondre that goes for 16 yards, and then it's a little angle route to Henderson that goes for 6. To me, in essence, those are run plays. They're just long-ass handoffs. So I get it. You physically don't have these stats that say we ran the ball 6 times as opposed to 3 in the second half, but time of possession, man, 65-yard touchdown run eliminates. You have a normal 3-4 minute 5-minute drive, you're going to run the ball 3 or 4 times in there. You're not, because he went 65 yards to the house.
If you want to kill clock, if you want to control the clock, run the ball. Like that's what some of these incompletions, the incomplete throw to Hollins on the dig route, the throwaway, the near interception, the actual interception. Granted, that was third down and it was deep. Another bad throw versus 2-man to Hunter Henry. Like, I don't know. Those seconds aren't going to add up to taking points off the board for Buffalo. But if you're playing situationally, thinking what's working, what do we want to accomplish here in the second half? Catch up, control the clock, whatever. Just running in some more play action. I just don't know why it was there.
Like I said, I'm with you on the play action. Could have been more play action, but you're also all year long. We're like, keep the ball in Drake's hands. He's the best thing you have going for you. You kept the ball in Drake's hands, and he just didn't make the same type of plays that he's had in the past. So at some point you have to realize, hey, he doesn't have it right now, and we have to pivot from that. Well, you do. You turn the ball and turn around and hand the ball off to Trevion, and he goes 65 yards for a score.
177 rushing yards at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Prosecution rests. Okay, we only
you
have.
Don't get the last word.
I do. It's my podcast. This is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship.
Oh, that's crap. That just quickly, Bubba from Connecticut just wrote in the comments, Andrew, I crop dusted you at a pub in London, and that's Bubba. That's how I feel about Andrew right now. After that last little segment, I would crop dust him. Go ahead.
Thanks for watching, Bubba. Also, if that happened to be when I was out with Mark Daniels, I want to say Chris Mason. Yeah, Mason was there. My good friend Jimmy, my wife. We talked about a fart that lingered like no fart has ever lingered while we were at a pub in London. And if you say
that's gotta be Bubba. How's that not Bubba? Bubba did that.
We were. This is just grossly American, but we were pub hopping. We watched Mets Dodgers. That was suddenly on in one of those pubs for like 20 minutes. Got one drink and then kept going. But while we were standing there and nearly died, it was some kind of gas attack. Okay. Henderson, great. Offensive line, pass protection was better than I thought upon review. Low 30s in terms of pressure rate. Jared Wolfson, clean slate, didn't love him in run blocking. Mike Onwenu and Morgan Moses loved their run blocking. Second level, very, very good. Receivers, we already hit on. Hunter Henry, thought this was a down game for him. The drop, one run stuff, run blocking as a whole, especially a couple of pin and pulls. Didn't love it. And again, the man coverage stuff is what I've talked about for a long time. May was 4 of 9, 80 yards, also an 11-yard scramble. It just goes to, I think, when you have a great quarterback, you have to dare them to do hard things, even if it's at the risk of giving up long plays. The Bills dared them, and they won. So aside from that, reminder, Stevenson's still going to be on the field. He outsnapped Henderson by 10 because he's in blitz pickup, yada, yada.
He did a nice job in blitz pickup.
He really did. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Defense?
Yeah, I just the things I wrote, the same thing you did. I thought it was a pretty good outing by the offensive line and pass protection. I thought Ramondre did a terrific job on that front as well. I just wrote not so much for the tight ends or the fullback. I don't think that was a Jack Westover clinic by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And yeah, Hunter struggled. Although I will say on the 65-yard touchdown run that I've now mentioned about 47 times, he did have a nice little block on that. Wasn't as it was designed, but he helped wall that thing off when Henderson bounced out of that pile.
All right, defensively, this was a simple game, and I don't love when we do the simple analysis. It's not what we spend all day doing and digging up. But look, they played 2 personnel packages. 3-corner nickel was about 60% of the time. They were in base about 40% of the time. Even split in coverage for me, 50-50 man and zone. Blitz rate was about 30. And the blitz rate went up as the game went along because they were just running out of options of how the hell to slow Josh Allen, which comes back to my original point of they tried hard. They had a couple of good plays, But if you want to beat the MVP of the league, you can't bring Corey Durden and Joshua Farmer to a gunfight with Josh Allen. And that's all they could do. Because Durden, Christian Barmore, and Kyrus Tonga, especially, sadly, swoons me to say it, looked overextended in run defense. So naturally, those guys don't have a whole lot when it comes to pass rushing. But the Patriots did what I expected them to do. We're going to match you in base on early downs.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play a lot of man coverage. And Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis through coverage shutouts, minus the one penalty that Davis had. But they were never going to go to the receivers anyway. It was about the tight ends. It was about Josh scrambling. And it was about running the ball, which is exactly what Buffalo did. And Mike Vrabel told you, yeah, that's what we expected. And it was the basic stuff. Block destruction, tackling. The game had declared before it had even kicked off. You knew where the battle lines were. And they just lost anyway because they didn't have the talent, and they certainly did not play well enough fundamentally.
Well, I take you back to week 5, right? When somebody asked a long-winded question about the heavy personnel that the Bills were using to Vrabel, and Vrabel gave the answer, and sure enough, that's how the Bills came out because that's what they wanted to do. That's what they had started to do, sort of kicking off this whole – the Rams have now taken it to another level this year in terms of, heavy personnel. But the Patriots came out on the opening series and were like, here's our big boys. Here's Tavai, who just come back from the IR. You're not doing that to us. You're going to beat us. If you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us in a different way than this. And they got Joe Brady to come off of that fairly quickly. And Joe Brady did not have his best game against the Patriots. In this one, they were multiple. They brought big personnel. They ran out of 11. And the offensive line ass kicked for a majority of the game. Yeah, there were a couple series, obviously, in the first half where it didn't go great for Buffalo. But once they found their rhythm and scored the touchdown right before the half, different ball game. All 5 of those guys were like all pros yesterday. They were just wiping the floor with, as you mentioned, Tonga, Barmore, Durden, Taylor in there, the edge guys, and Landry and Chason. And as we've talked about many times with regards to this team and how to attack them and sort of being able to get after their linebackers. No Spillane. Gibby had a few nice plays early, Dr. Gibby, and then a lot of missed tackles, a lot of getting just overwhelmed in the run game. Like and James Cook, like from an explosive standpoint, would he have a 12-yard run, an 11-yard run, and still picked and chewed his way to 107 yards on 22 carries. He was just down by down. That's the kind of, when we talk about sustained running attack, that was a sustained running attack. Didn't pop anything big, just controlled the game from that front, though. They got 4 yards, 5 yards every time he touched the ball.
Yeah, and it was a vision game for him too, right? Like he was looking for the cutbacks, and part of that is a function of their zone scheme. So that's like the point of the play, right? We're going to open things up and there will be a crease somewhere. There was also a crease somewhere because the Patriots just did not build a wall. And all the stuff that you normally hear Mike Vrabel talk about when we ask, "Oh my God, how was your run defense? The best thing that we've ever seen against the run since all of us started watching football." Well, here's what we do: we break down blocks, we tackle well, we build a wall, and rally to the football. I didn't see that Sunday. That's how simple it was. I will add another one though, because this problem has been overlooked, I would say, largely by people in our chairs and around us in the media workroom, and gets the heart of what the hell's going on in the red zone, where as soon as you cross the 20-yard line, the Patriots not only let you pass go to collect $200, you get 7 points and an invitation to come back. They have allowed opponents to convert on first, second, third, fourth down with 2 yards or fewer to go, including when they're near the goal line. 88% of the time. So when you want to know, why is the red zone defense this bad? Why can't they stop the run? It's because in high leverage moments, they are getting steamrolled. And Buffalo is right below them, or just a hair better, however you want to arrange the rankings in your brain. So they know what that looks like and what the stakes are. But when you're facing that type of offense and they just know they can get you for 3 yards here, 2 yards there, you're just at a loss already. And to me, that's the stuff that if they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, which I have no idea what's going to happen, but is an area where the opponent's going to go, okay, we know we can convert here. Maybe we take a shot, 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, because we're going to get it on 4th and 1.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And but I do wonder at this point, for as good as Milton was when he was in there, when I was talking about sort of the pass rush and some of the attrition there, like just the physicality of it, like they're lacking in that regard. And while yesterday's game is like, oh, well, look at this happen. They gave up over 100 yards to Cook. As you talked about with the Mina Kimes uncovering that, we've been talking about this since Tampa. Tampa started to run on them unlike anyone had. And it wasn't a huge game, but Tucker had a nice day. White had a nice day. They had little pieces, and it's been building week to week where Vrabel pretty much, I think if you go back and look at it every week, is talking about the wall that they were building that they aren't now. And you watch the tape like I do, and you see these gaps that were not there in the first 8 or 9 weeks that are there now. And yes, it certainly is mostly coincided with Milton Williams being out, but it's also some of those guys just aren't playing to the level they need them to. And I'm not sure that changes.
Yeah, and that's the hard truth, right? Like I wrote about this yesterday. You just mentioned it a few minutes ago. The talent is the talent. And offensively, that means that you have a lot of options and you can game plan and scheme. And we saw in the first half, we've seen it in other games. There's a lot of different stuff they can do to attack different teams and different schemes. Defensively, you just need your guys to stay upright and to play well. And Milton Williams is not upright, and Christian Barmore doesn't look like himself. And then you have guys like Caleb Von Chase on it who should be more of a rotational role, and instead are getting picked on. And then their pass rush suffers because of the run defense. And it just is what it is. And we already mentioned the banged up Harold Landry. So like their depth there is brittle. And right now, you saw it crack against the Bills, who have the league-leading run game. They're not going to see a better run game anywhere unless they see the Bills again. But it's just something they can't do anything about, and partly why we advocated for them to add talent. But moving on. Here are my last defensive notes, because, again, I just think the simplest explanation, and you said it, they got their ass kicked up front, is what happened. I did think it was pass interference on Marcus Jones. And it was a split second before the ball arrived. He wasn't looking. Then he did look. If they didn't call a penalty, though, it should have been an interception. So we could agree on that. I don't really want to talk more about penalties. I think it's a waste of my breath and your time. And I'm not interested in wasting anybody's time watching this or listening to this. Thank you for doing both. I also look at their top tacklers from yesterday. And this is illustrated partly of the injuries, and it's also illustrated the talent and just going, I need a little more playmaking here. And it's not just Christian Gonzalez is your interception, it's just who's around the ball. Jalen Hawkins, Marcus Jones, Jack Gibbons, Christian Ellis, Craig Woodson. None of those players are striking fear into any offense in the league. And this is a greater than the sum of its parts type of defense. But it's just something that kind of captures what we're talking about here, where Christian Gonzalez is the only player you're circling being like, okay, game record. And if you're the Bills, you're like, we're not throwing that way anyway.
Right.
And everything feels open to teams like that. They'll play better. They'll bounce back. But, man, Sunday night is not going to be as easy as I think some people think it will be in Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't think so either. As you kind of flash ahead to that, what does Lamar like to do in the passing game? He likes to throw between the hashes, between the numbers. He loves his tight ends. He utilizes his backs in the passing game as well. And then, of course, with Derrick Henry, who may have lost a step. Like, I think you can, if you watch him this year, like he's not as quick side to side as he was, and it might take him a little split second longer to get going. And then his long speed is still good luck with that. But like leading up to it is a little bit slower, but they're going to come right at you. And so no Milton Williams again this week because he's still on IR. We don't know about Spillane. Obviously worked out pregame, dressed, didn't play. If you have, you have one piece of your spine missing. If you have Spillane out again or impaired, like they're going to attack you where you're at your weakest, where teams, I think all year long, I've said, why don't more teams do this? Atlanta should have done it, but Michael Penix doesn't like to throw the ball over the middle of the field. Like, Jesus, what are we doing here? That's a guy who's going to do it. And again, even if Lamar hasn't been awesome, you're right. This is going to be more of a challenge. That environment's going to be nuts. It's not easy to play there when you're good, as the Patriots have found out multiple times in the Brady Belichick era. So when you're a little bit impaired, even if they're not at their best, that's not going to be an easy one.
So I've referenced this before, but I used to do this segment on the show when it was just me, myself, and a beer on Monday nights, rewatching, which the beer was needed, by the way, rewatching all of the games from last year and the year before.
Multiple.
Solo pods. The segment was, what would NFL film say? And the idea was, okay, there's a season-long documentary. We've all seen them, all watched them. Maybe you own the DVDs or too many of them, in my case, growing up, of the season and what's happened. And what would they say about this particular game? There would be something poetic looking ahead to Sunday night if after getting their asses kicked up front, that they go to Baltimore. And this game comes down to the situation I just laid out where they're only successful 12% of the time. And it's 3rd and goal at the 2. And the player they have to stop with the game on the line is not just Derrick Henry, but it's Mike Vrabel's Derrick Henry. And they do it. Just filing that away. Just something with the season. Because, this stuff pops up that shouldn't. Like the opportunity to knock out the Bills as the division champs coincided with the Bills coming here to be knocked out in the first place. You couldn't do it. But the timing of that sometimes speaks to we joke about the football gods, but, haven't seen anyone disprove them yet. So I'm going to keep mentioning them. And stuff like this happens. And if it does happen, we're going to replay this and you are going to be absolutely kidding me.
I'm already disgusted.
Well, we're getting there with okay, let me have it. Studs and duds. Studs, I have Henderson.
Yep.
Ramondre was less obvious. I will go first half play calling. And you know what? I got a little worked up about the second half play calling. Abdication of responsibility was strong. To anyone listening in particular, it's a little strong. I'm going to back off. But in my duds, second half play calling was absolutely there, along with Jack Gibbons, Caleb Chason, and Drake Maye. Those are my studs and duds.
Yeah, I had studs, Henderson, Stevenson, and Moses. I thought Moses had a couple of really nice he helped spring the long touchdown on the first one. I thought he moved pretty well in this one. Duds, I just put the whole D-line. That's all of them. Any of them that you want to put in there, from edge to nose, they all belong. I thought Diggs, I didn't find him particularly effective, efficient, and at times I thought he might have been a little lost on the field. Who else did I put? Hunter, Henry, and Drake Maye.
The way you said edge and nose has me playing head, shoulders,
knees and toes,
edges and nose. Mike, Will, corners, edges, and nose. No good. Neither was that. I'm sorry, I wasted everyone's 10 seconds. Dad pod.
Yes.
My daughter turned 5 weeks on Saturday, which, by the way, people who complain about the non-football, we're getting a mailbag here in a second, but this is our show. She is now smiling, and it is the best thing I've ever seen. And I know she's going to start laughing soon, and I'm trying to bait her like I saw my dad do with my sister's daughter, my niece, who now just turned a year, when I'm like, you can have like George Carlin's best stuff, and you can do all the stuff you see on Sesame Street. And she's just not going to laugh because she doesn't know what the hell's going on. But you know what I'm doing right now is trying with all my noises and faces to get that first laugh to come out, and for me be the one to be responsible for it happening. So I'm looking like a fool when I'm around her. I'm going back and forth between where we are in Connecticut and our apartment in Boston. But the point is, the smiles are the best thing I've ever seen. I'm so happy that they're happening. So that's my dad pod.
I will just tell you that I don't know if this is our conversations, because as we know, all our devices are listening to us at all times. I had a reel pop up on Instagram of babies laughing hysterically at the most ridiculous things. This woman is like, she sneezes and the baby just loses its mind. It's laughing so hard. And then the woman sneezes again and the baby, like the whole body is shaking. And it just, I'm like, if this isn't a sign that we are, everything that we do is bugged, I don't know what is, because I don't have any babies. My babies are old now. My babies are 19 and 22. I thought of you that when you were telling that story about the laughter is, I just remember my daughter said the big fat cheeks and she just started laughing and then everything's kind of shaking and it's good.
This is a boomer habit of mine, which you're going to love. For that reason of Meta, no matter what you tell them and the settings you turn off, listening to you, I don't have Instagram on my phone anymore. But you bet your ass I have it on my desktop and on my web browser. So I cannot watch Reels. I can't do certain things. It looks so clunky and weird. I might as well be on Facebook, though at least I deleted that. It's the only way I am on Instagram, which is private, by the way. There are a fair amount of people requesting to follow and hang out. Friends and family only. But when I'm on there, I look like the oldest person that I know.
Yeah, I probably when I'm bored, I probably have rotted my brain a little bit too much with some of these dumb reels, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay, let me have it. You go first. I'll sit here quietly.
I actually am just going to make fun of your outfit today. And someone made a mention in comments about something I don't even remember. I don't even know if I knew the reference, but the hat, you got your little specs on, it's a white T-shirt, like it's a little something. I don't know what. It's something. So there.
You can text me what that something is if you don't want to say it in front of thousands of
people.
people.
No, I can't at this moment right now. My brain is just Swiss cheese.
Yeah, I'll give you Are you done? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay. Giving like hipster, like skateboarder, loser, or the guy that I referenced earlier who gets his life together and then goes way too fast into adulthood and is dating a woman with 2 kids. Like,
yeah, well, you know what? Actually, now that you said this, man, apparently this must be like a Boston Herald thing because Doug Kyde is sitting in the front row of Mike Vrabel's press conference today, wearing his little hat. Which, by the way, he and Sophie Weller both had the same hat on, which was kind of cute. But yeah, you and Doug is a bit of a hipster. Like, I mean,
No. I don't say that because we're coworkers and good friends. I say I don't think he's hipster. He's got a deep and wide range of music interests and just general interests, but I don't know. Oh, by the way, the hat, in case you missed it, is because I'm bald and that means I'm cold. Okay? That's what it is.
I might not have been, or I might have been fishing for that.
Just goading. Yeah, thank you. Huh. Okay, you can sit quietly now.
Yeah.
We are covering the game yesterday, and I mentioned when Ramondre Stevenson, puts a hand in Matt Milano's face and the refs get all in their feelings about it, which, okay, whatever. But I'm like, rivalry, here we go. And you respond, you're like, yeah, you suck, Bubby. Bubby. And of all of the insults that are in your head, and there are a lot, and of all the years that you've lobbed insults at people, lovingly, not so lovingly, you chose a name that I only understand to mean Jewish grandma. And I give off a lot of loser looks or things sometimes. What I don't give off, bald man, 34 and a half years old, is Jewish grandma. So I don't know where that came from, except for that part of your brain that apparently has been rotted by Instagram reels.
Yeah.
But Bubby was the best thing you have. I will just say I'm happy that I got back at you because you had to, it looked like that was cover 2 from the Patriots, which is also something I would tweet. But I said, looks like it actually covers 0 receivers, knowing that you would hate that.
So I did hate it, but I don't know. I didn't know that was a Jewish grandmother, by the way.
Yeah.
I can't even say that I had the knowledge of that. I just like the word Bubby.
Bubby.
It's the way it rolls off your tongue. Bubby.
Yeah. I mean, Buddy was right there. You just insisted on the.
Buddy sucks. Bubby is different.
Bud is my. No. Pal is my, I don't like you.
Yeah, Chief.
Call someone Pal.
Chief, Pal.
Yeah, Chief is too obvious. Pal is my, okay, Pal. Like someone, zips by me on the highway and then cuts right in front of me and goes slow. Okay, Pal. Thank you.
I think you've said okay, Pal to me a few times in
a million
situations. Yeah.
You know what, though? I hear as that being the universal Pal for everyone else is Bud. And our friend Phil Perry still does this. A lot of people are Bud to Phil. And when I first was on the beat, I'm like, is he trying to verbally sun me? Where someone throws the arm around, I'm going to tell you how the hierarchy is now. Don't think that's the case. Phil just likes a good Bud.
He does.
I don't like a good Bud.
No, but I'm out on Bud.
Yeah. All right. We're going to zip through these. From Blue Sky, this is the mailbag segment, by the way. D. Witzgall. Can a loss like this actually be a good thing in the long run?
Yeah, I don't think it could hurt. I think you heard from the players post-game, and then we heard from Garrett Bradbury and Ramondre Stevenson today about hey, could it sharpen your focus a little bit? Maybe you got into a routine and the routine was working. You won 10 in a row. But as Vrabel said when they were coming off the field and told them in the locker room, boys, this is December football. This is what it's like. And maybe this nudges them a little bit forward. They're all talking about Andrew too in the post-game about the environment and how crazy it was. And that was a playoff feel to it. You got to do a little bit more now. Your body's a little tired. It's been a long season. The stakes are being raised. Maybe I don't want to call it a wake up because I don't think they needed a wake up, but maybe again, it just sharpens the focus a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not ready to do that now. I think that skips ahead to the acceptance part of the, grief cycle and grief process. And I think everyone should be pissed today and sad tomorrow and move on Wednesday. But yeah, I think you need calluses is the way I put it in my column yesterday. You got to have calluses to accumulate ahead of the postseason. So when you're in these bad situations, you're literally just getting bullied on the line of scrimmage. What are you going to do? Their answer is going to be draw more from your offense and just win a shootout. And if they see the Bills again, it's going to be a shootout because these battle lines are drawn and they're not going anywhere the way these teams match up. But sure, it can be a good thing if they grow from it and you understand defensively you cannot play that poorly fundamentally. Grant Jordanian says a lot of stuff we did. Defensive issues, lack of depth, injuries, cumulative fatigue, which is something we touched on but didn't really spend a lot of time. Again, it was 23 minutes on the field defensively in the second half. Then mentions the trade deadline. Fair. Yes, it's fair. We agree. We already said it. So there you go. And he says, go Huskies, which makes this, of course, now my favorite listener for here today.
Shameless.
Corey says, before this game, I thought they had a good stable of pass catchers. Now, not so sure. Did this game do anything to change your guys' mind and how much they need to upgrade receivers and tight ends this offseason?
I mean, I've from the tight end standpoint, I felt like they needed some youth in there, and they haven't done anything with it for 2 years. So I'd never taken that off the table. But I do think, as we talked about earlier, just the idea of having that guy, that difference maker, that when you're in man coverage and maybe the quarterback isn't feeling it perfectly and the throw's a little bit off, he can go get it. Whereas, yeah, Matt Collins can go get it sometimes, and Diggs can go get it, and Keyshawn can get it. But, it's not something you hang your hat on. With that guy, you could probably hang your hat on that.
Yeah. A couple more people touching on the defensive depth. Kyle Marsden, is it looking worse? They didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I don't know. We're exactly where you want to be. Playoff football, playing good teams. You just say, we're going to steal a cliche, be where our feet are, or be where your ears are listening to this. Yeah, I think they do need to upgrade in the offseason. It feels like to me, going back to Corey for a second, he's not lost a ton of money because it wasn't there in the first place. But Kayshon Boutte feels like he's lost some money in the recent couple of months where a lot of one-catch games, understanding those catches go for 30 yards or sometimes touchdowns, but it's not the, holy crap, this is the Kayshon Boutte show now. It's just, it'll be an interesting negotiation because he'll be extension eligible along with the whole 2023 draft class coming up.
Yeah, I mean, if he has, as some have theorized, as the year started and he produced, and based on the way last year ended, just in terms of production, a legit number 2, he'd be getting a lot more than 1-2 targets a game. Those guys are too good to not get more,
2 more. Jordan, why are the Patriots not kicking it through the back of the end zone after the first few big run backs? Josh Allen got a spark and they came alive. They had short fields. Also, Schooler stinks.
That's not
his comment, not mine.
Yeah, I mean, they doubled him on some of those kick returns. Vrabel made an excellent point, I thought, on Monday. And it was a compare and contrast situation. And if you watch the tape, you'll see on the first long one, Jelani Tavai may have gotten held, but Jelani Tavai never made an effort to get off it. Almost just embraced the hug, if you will. Whereas when Marte Mapu had the holding penalty that brought back Kyle Williams' long return, Mapu did basically the same thing, but the defender pulled away from him and got the hand outside the body so the ref could see he's got a fistful of jersey. Wasn't egregious. Sometimes doesn't get called, but I think Vrabel's point was it was almost like an acceptance there. I'll give you another one. Caleb Murphy. Happened to him a couple times. Caleb Murphy was waived today.
Yeah.
As a core 4 special teamer. And I think in part it was you got to do something. Get off the block, and he couldn't.
You could be more like Jelani Tavai and embrace the hug sometimes.
That's not my personality.
I know it's not. Yeah, look, it's fair. I probably would have kicked through the back of the end zone. I think there's something when you play and coach in a league for so long that you go, oh, 35-yard line. That's great field position. It's hard to get back to, hey, this is not that league anymore. And the Bills' average starting field position on kickoffs was the 46. So that point about short fields, it is probably better said as handing away points because then you're 20 yards from field goal range. They didn't kick in a lot of field goals. They didn't need to. But that's a margin that's almost so important in these cases. It's not a margin that you have to win and you can't give away those yards, and they did. Brandon, this is the last question. Offensive line seemed good yesterday in pass protection. Was the main issue the receiver's not getting open, or was Maye missing people? He's also a little concerned about the lack of quote-unquote clutch, end quotes from Brandon, from Maye so far in his career. Thoughts on both? I think we covered the offensive line receiver stuff.
I mean, would you like to have the fourth quarter down 6, take the team down the field in 1:47 with no timeouts or one timeout, throw the touchdown pass to win the game? You would. Hasn't really had the opportunity. There were a couple last year, right, where he did take him down the field to score against Tennessee, then threw the interception in overtime. There was the down 6 against the Rams. He threw the pick, which I think, as we detailed back then, not even a Pop Douglas problem more than it was a Drake Maye problem. So look, it's just like the schedule. You can only do what's in front of you. They haven't been put in that situation often. Would I have loved to have seen that yesterday? Sure. He could have had, I think you tweeted maybe like chance for an MVP type moment here, because we do remember these things. He didn't have it. But that doesn't mean he won't. So much like the cold weather thing, maybe a little sea concern, but nothing that's going to keep me up at night.
Yeah, the cold weather thing, I'm going to give a 3 out of 10, and this is a 1.5. Last year, I'm going to just completely excuse. And the conversation, frankly, around him got ridiculous because a kid having a turnover problem as a rookie quarterback, as I said many times, is akin to a 16-year-old having a parallel parking problem. Like, it's just baked in. You have to expect that they're going to have issues or speeding or pick whatever your driving error of choice. With this, you would love to see it. He also did it in week 5 on the road, hostile environment, prime time with 2 ridiculous throws. So some of this is finding your limits. That factors into the turnover. Sometimes it's just maturation. You will need to see it more often. But I don't think when you make the list of playoff quarterbacks when the postseason starts, and you got 14 of them, who would you most want in a 2-minute drill? I don't think Drake Maye is in the bottom half of that list. And it's not because Mahomes and Burrow and maybe Lamar Jackson aren't going to be in the playoffs. He's that good. And he's done it at least once against a good team in a big spot. And I have confidence, just belief that he'll do it again sooner rather than later.
Agreed.
Okay, that's it. This was fun. Of course, I went over my hard out of 9 o'clock. I want to remind the good folks to play Prize Picks. Use code CLNS, $50 off. Or not $50 off, but you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, which, apologies, we went 0 for 3 last week. We're bouncing back this week. It's just going to happen. But only if you use code CLNS and download the Prize Picks app, so please do that. I will see you back here exhausted next Monday after a Sunday night game in Baltimore. We are both traveling for, and God help us, but we'll do it. We'll tough it out. It's playoff football. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, right. Yeah, suck it up. There are no tomorrows. You got to just keep bringing it.
All right, see you, pal.
See you, buddy.